Still there?
Hold on. Fuck.
User disconnected from your channel. User joined your channel.
It's workable if you want to just roll with it. Yeah, I get Discord. We can swap over to that if you want. Here, I'll post it under the training channel. I'll open that up and I'll log in there now. We can use the one I just posted. It's the TBRN server. I'm in group 1.
Microphone sound muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Alright. I don't know why TeamSpeak all of a sudden my button's not allowing me to speak anymore.
You're a lot clearer and crisper here.
Hold on a sec. Alright. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you sound very clear.
Alright. I don't know why TS stopped accepting my button as far as it showed it looked like it was working in testing, but it didn't want to do it when I was actually trying to talk.
10-4.
Not really sure. That's generally why I don't use TS a lot, just because it usually fights me pretty hard.
No worries.
So the biggest questions that I had is I have yet to even remotely wrap my head around how the faction amended drop decks work. Due to like weight restrictions. I'm assuming Inner Sphere and clan-based mechs and all that.
Okay, so you're talking about faction warfare then for drop decks?
Yeah, I haven't been able to figure out how to set up a drop deck that'll even let me play. It doesn't help I also bought 90 off the get-go because I like big, stupid, slow things.
10-4. I'm going to go ahead and open faction warfare and pull up drop decks. Okay, so looks like the Inner Sphere currently has 265 tons. What that means is you cannot exceed 265 tons and you must have 4 mechs.
Ooh, shit. That could be a problem then.
Your minimum tonnage is 160. You can't go below 160 and you can't go over 265. You have basically 105 tons to play with in that range in between there.
In other words, then I'm going to need about 3 more light mechs.
How many mechs do you have right now?
So, I did not have a good idea on what I would need. I just kind of went with what I wanted. So I own 3 Atlases, a Mauler, an Annihilator, and a Crab.
You weren't kidding when you said you went big.
I go big or go home generally.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
But yeah, you're gonna have trouble with invasion for sure. You're gonna be too heavy.
Well, I also unfortunately am short clan mechs entirely too.
Okay. Well, since you got mostly Inner Sphere mechs, I would recommend starting with that. You've got some 100 tonners, which you could get are, let's see, that'll put you at 200 tons and give you 65 tons to play with. So you could get a 30 and a 35 tonner, or you could get like a 55 tonner and a 20 tonner or something like that to round out your deck.
Okay, so I'll plan on buying a couple of tiny ones to fit in.
With 65, I'm sorry, not a 55 tonner, that would only give you 10 tons. You have to get a 45 tonner and a 20 tonner. Or you could do the 30 and 35, and honestly, the 30 and 35 is probably your best bet.
Yeah, I'm not real skilled with light mechs yet. I've started to play around with the Shadow Cat, but
10 and 4. I'm looking here. The Raven's a 35 tonner, and the Urban Mech is a 30 tonner. The Urby is pretty tanky. It's like it's a light mech. It's slow, but it hits and tanks way above its weight. The Raven is less tanky, but it's a good long-range mech if you don't want to get too close with lights if you're not comfortable with them yet. Both of those would probably be good scout drop. Not scout drop. Both of those would probably be good invasion mechs to complement your 2 assaults.
okay. Yeah, I'm pretty good at my my sniping and my leading. I'm not real good at my heat management with anything that's got over or under 1.2.
10 and 4.
I usually overheat enough fucking hurry.
Well, the 2 ER large laser Raven with ECM is kind of like a standard build, and it's pretty effective. That would be a good long range build if you want to roll with that. I run something a little different on mine, mainly because I run mine for laughs than anything else. But you could set it up with PPCs. There's the light PPCs in game now. You could do large pulse. There's a lot of stuff you can do with the Raven for mid to long range while maintaining some mobility in the ECM. And then the Urby makes a really good close-in brawler where you tag along behind a heavy or an assault and you just assist it by shooting the same target it shoots. It has a 360-degree torso twist, so you can keep spinning in one direction. You never have to stop and come back, to look the other way. So it lets you shield really well, and then also it's really tanky for its weight class.
Well, that definitely sounds like my alley. My primary use mech, the one I've actually done well with, I actually got 998 damage in a match. I was pretty proud of that. Tried to screenshot it for the board, but I couldn't. My Steam being a dick.
Oh no.
It is the slowest thing in the game. I've never seen anybody that moves slower than. It literally is running a standard 100 engine.
Oh wow.
But it's got quad LBX 10s and 2 AC2s.
Nice.
So it's really good at hurting stuff. It just usually I don't get to hurt anything until the battle's half over because I have to catch up.
10 and 4. Did you hit screenshot by any chance when you were trying to take a screenshot?
No, I took the screenshot, but I actually reinstalled my entire Steam last night because for whatever reason it was locking up every time I got out of a game. I couldn't press anything on until I restarted it. So I just took the screenshot. I just unfortunately couldn't save the damn thing. It was a good one too. I was pretty proud of my score. I got like 4 kills, 988 damage. So probably my best match so far.
It's definitely exciting, just from the sound of it.
Oh yeah, it was a good one. I've had a few good ones. I don't know. I cannot. So the pilot tier rate, does that go left or right when you're?
You said pilot tier rating?
Yeah.
If you win, it goes right. You can have a 0 score and not do anything, but if your team wins, it will increase.
Okay, because I go back and forth, and the pick up games, the quick play, and it actually has not moved between the T or the I this entire time. I think because I lose and win alternating as often as. So I genuinely wasn't sure which direction it was supposed to be moving.
Yeah, it'll move right. It's just very slow, very incremental. You're not going to see much movement, to be honest.
Okay. Alright, well, I picked up a boar's head when I got my Atlas back. So I've got a decent credit farmer now. I'm getting to know it. Unfortunately, I favor ballistic weapons heavily, which the game does not seem to move of, as most builds tend to be laser-centric.
Lasers are the generic... lasers are common because they cover a lot of stuff. They're very versatile, especially in the quick play queue. However, when you get into the... like in invasion, or when you get into like competitive groups or whatever, ballistics tend to be more prominent because they hit harder, they're cooler running, and just all around kind of a better slugging weapon. But for general quick play, lasers are the way to go because they're much more versatile.
Yeah, I noticed with my boar's head, I rigged him up with 3 large ERs and an AC-20. And I'm doing all right with that build. Heat-wise, as long as I'm not in a super hot terra firma planet. But I'm still, I don't know, it's keeping the lasers on point. I'm really good at leading my shot, but I'm not good at keeping the cursor on them once I fire. And the lasers are
right
damage, so I'm still kind of good. I'm used to
old
Mech Warrior one-shot overheat builds. From like Mech Warrior 3 and such. I do have a Fafnir pre-ordered.
Cool.
My lack of light mechs. That's going to be not conductive towards faction, but it'll be fun and quick play at least.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a good mech, I think, for quick play. I was looking over the details they had released so far, and it looks like a fun mech.
Yeah, well, at least one of the builds is really ballistic rigged. Something pretty nasty. And I've got that one on check, so I'm looking forward to it. Right now, I guess I need to farm credits of a light loadout here. Crab's a medium. He is a 50-tonner, so yeah, I would drop pod yet. My Mauler I've been experimenting with. I haven't gotten a build I overly am effective with yet. My current build's been kind of hit or miss. Just like I said, I unfortunately shot specifically for my preferred playstyle and not with the knowledge of what I would use.
10-4. Well, I can tell you right now that the Mauler's got a lot of good stuff with it, and I've actually got some good builds. If you want, I can recommend them. But it's got some excellent stuff.
1R, 4 ballistic, 2 energy, 4 missile.
I didn't hear what you said.
I've got the 1R.
Oh, the 1R. Okay.
So, like I said, my current loadout with it's been kind of hit or miss. Part of that's my learning. So I got really used to my Annihilator. I played that almost non-stop when I started.
10-4.
So I'm still kind of figuring it out. For
Let me go look and see what I got on my 1R. I can recommend it.
Right now I'm rocking 2 ER large, a laser AMS, and 4 AC.
Oh, okay. I see which one my 1R is. I can't remember sometimes because I've got 4 of them and I got them all kitted out.
It's hard. Some of the shit.
Yeah. On my 1R currently, I've done several different builds of this mech. I did the quad UAC 5s, which was pretty effective. I did quad LB10s, which was a lot of fun. Currently what I have is 2 LB10s, 2 AC5s, and 2 ER medium lasers, and it's kick butt. It's really a good mech. Heat management's a 1.4, so it's not very hot. It's actually almost heat neutral. And it has a 40 alpha, which is low, but it fires quickly, so you have a higher rate of fire, and then the improved critting from the LBXs. It's really good at punching out mechs. I actually one-shotted 2 Ebon Jaguars last night during some matches with the rest of the group. And both of them just dropped in front of me on HPG Manifold, had their backs to me, and it was like point blank. So I just alphaed, and they both cored out when I did it to each one.
That's kind of awesome. Yeah, that's kind of what I go for with my Annihilate. Just pick a target from a distance and, mash them up real good for the rest of the team, and then whenever anybody actually gets within arm's reach and optimal range, it's over fast.
Right.
I had a guy, I think, I want to say it was a Thanatos, made the mistake of trying to chase me into a corner, and I literally got into a dead-end alley and just put my back to the wall, and as soon as he came around the corner, I fucking destroyed him.
That's awesome.
It was like literally seconds worth of me just hitting him with every gun on my mech, and it was done. I don't really use the Alpha Strike as much as I configure my weapon group so half of my buttons are Alpha Striking more or less. But I'm kind of late, so.
10-4.
Alright, so, well, I'll tell you what, I don't know what a good way to farm for credits is other than playing and hopefully getting a good team quick game. But I'm gonna need to do that before I can join you guys and drop it stuff. Pick up a couple more lights.
You can join whenever. You don't have to. You don't have to wait till you've got certain things. I mean, we got guys coming from all kinds of setups with all kinds of stuff.
So when you do a drop deck, because I of course have the trial mechs so far, great. When you do a drop deck, I noticed invasion drop decks. Do you want to set one up for clan and one up for inter, kind of from the get-go?
I don't, and the reason for that is when we run a contract, we typically run it for a full month at a time.
Okay.
So, like, if you set one for Innersphere, one for clan, you're not going to get to use your clan one for a month.
Gotcha.
So, what I generally do is I always set up both of my drop decks for Innersphere, and then what I do is I will have one for, like, Invasion dedicated strictly for that game mode because it is such a niche mode. And then the other will be more like a generic drop deck that I can use for the other game modes. Because you have skirmish, you've got incursion, you've got conquest, you've got, I think, domination. You've got basically, I think, all the different game modes that you would find normally in quick play, also in faction warfare. So I try to make sure, like I said, I've got one set up specifically to handle invasion mode, because that is a really tough mode and you have to have a very specific drop deck for that, I think. But then all the other ones are going to be generic jack of all trades types that I can use for those more generic game modes that are going to play out more like a skirmish round typically. And by doing so, I have that flexibility, and usually I'm not really left hanging. I do something similar with scouting. I have like a medium 55 or 50 tonner. That's like a brawler. And then I have a light mech that's just speed and ECM, with the idea being that I can collect intel points in the smoke dive. And it just depends. If we're defending, I take the big medium. If we're attacking and I gotta collect intel, I'll take the light mech.
Okay. Yeah, I think so far the only person I've played with Cromulus.
Okay.
I spotted him in a couple of matches. I think I almost killed him in one of them. I managed to catch him on the upside of a hill.
He's a good guy. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, he really had popped in. He's like, bad day to be on the wrong side of the team. It was like, well, good day to die, I guess. He was holding his own pretty good until like 4 of our guys came up over that hill.
He's a good pilot. Not somebody to mess with for sure.
Yeah, I was kind of glad I didn't have to solo him in a corner somewhere. It didn't look like it would have went well for me.
Yeah, generally whoever goes up against him, even if they beat him, they're hurting when they're done.
As far as skills go, I've been kind of focusing on my Atlas. I use about half of my GXP for my first 25 matches to just pump it into my... It's already halfway up. I've been focusing on upgrading the armor and weapon range capacity, and then a little bit into mobility, because he's never going for mobile, but give him a nice look. And then I added some sensor to get my targeting range up, such.
10-4, that never hurts. Skills really comes down to personal play style and preference. I have some people like, this is how it should be, or that, or this. You'll find a lot of people have opinions on it, but I've always said just pick what you like or what complements how you play or that mech specifically for you. I find because of the way I play that I tend to gravitate towards firepower, mobility, auxiliary as my first 3 trees, and then either operations, which is how, your cool running, your heat containment, etc.
Yeah.
Or survival, depending on the mech. So like my powerhouse, which I've been building while we talk, I ignored cooling because it's already kind of a cool running mech, and I focused everything on survival. Almost maxed out the survival tree because already the Roughnecks are a tanky mech. I want to capitalize on that by making it even tankier. Mechs like my quick draws, which are less tanky but more agile. I forego the survival tree and put everything into the agility tree after I do the firepower and the what was I going to say? Firepower and auxiliary. And then after I get the agility that I want, any remaining nodes I put into operations to help it run cooler because it does run hot typically.
Okay. So kind of balance or use it to upgrade the parts that are lacking. Parts that are
Exactly. If you're short for tonnage, you can fudge on your ammo a little bit and then go pick up some ammo nodes off the firepower tree. And that way you get extra rounds per ton, so to speak. And I've done that before with certain builds. It's like, I don't really need a full ton of ammo, and I don't really want to spend the half a ton because I want that for an AMS, for example.
Yeah.
It's like, so I'll just throw a node at ammo, and presto, now I've got 24 more rounds, and now I don't have to worry about it because that gives me 6 more trigger pulls, and that's about where I want to be. That kind of thing. Okay. Some things really don't give you much. Like I think AC 20, you only get like 1 round per ton, so there's not a lot of gains there. But then other weapon systems like AC2s or AC5s, for example, you get several rounds per ton, and you get pretty nice savings. Same thing with SRMs and LRMs. I think MRMs too, actually.
Okay. So one thing I'm still kind of wrapping my head around it. When you swap out a mech armor or heats, it stores the extra armor, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. If you take armor points off your mech, let's say you're short on tonnage, so you decide to scrape some armor off the legs and the head. Those points don't just disappear, they're in your inventory. In fact, it's been a long time since I had to do this because I typically fudge on my armor a little bit on the head and legs. Because of that, I like to get the extra tonnage. But
on my Annihilator.
Yeah, on occasion what I've found is I've had to purchase additional armor points when I actually run out of armor. I'll be trying to max armor out on a mech and it says, you have to purchase more armor. It's like, oh, okay, I'll do it. And so I buy some and max it out. But if you take it off, it goes into your inventory just like anything else.
Okay. Yeah, because I found so far at least in my testing, I've switched up pretty much all my mechs to double heat sinks. It just seems to be more effective.
Double is better. And double's actually quirky. So like a standard heat sink has a 1.0 threshold increase. So threshold being the max amount of heat that you can sustain before you overheat. All mechs start with 30 by default. So if your mech has 30 by default and you put one standard heat sink on, you're increasing it from 30 to 31. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Your cooling rate is going to be 0.1 for each. Yeah, 0.1 for each one of your single heat sinks. Okay. So 0.1 for cooling rate with a 1.0 for your heat threshold. And then double heat sinks are different. Double heat sinks, if they're in the engine, have a 2.0 threshold increase and a 0.2 cooling rate increase. So if you have 30 and you have an engine and you stick it on there, that 30 is going to go higher because your engine is going to have double heat sinks in it that are what we call true dubs, a true 2.0 and 0.2 for your threshold and your cooling. Makes sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay, now here's where it gets a little wonky. In an effort to balance double heat sinks with single heat sinks, PGI said, okay, if they are in the engine, they're true dubs. If they're outside of the engine, they're 1.4. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So your threshold increases by 1.4 for any double heat sink you place in your torsos, arms, wherever, and that includes engine slots. If you have an engine that's a 275 or bigger, you have that slot you can put stuff in. Mm-hmm. That's considered an external heat sink. I used to think it was internal, and I sat down and mathed it out, and I talked about it in the forums with people, and it's definitely not. It's definitely an external heat sink.
Okay.
So if you put it in the slots, if you put it anywhere on the mech, it counts as external. You're going to have 1.4 added to your total heat threshold, and your total cooling rate will increase by 0.14. So double's better, but not as good as a lot of people think. And then for your engines are I'm looking at a mech right now, and it's actually too small to have the engine cap I want, so let me swap to the mech real quick. So your engines are going to go up to a certain size, right?
Yeah, I'm still kind of learning.
Okay. Your engine rating, if you take your engine rating and divide it by 25, that tells you how many heat sinks are inside the engine. These are heat sinks you cannot modify, change, see, or in any way interact with at any time. These just exist, okay? So I'm looking at, for example, a Thunderbolt with a standard 300. If I were to take that and divide it by 25, I would get, should be 6. Oh, not 6. It should be 12. I'm saying half the number. Yep, 12. Now, that's not entirely true. And again, here's where it gets a little wonky, because again, here's where PGI made some rules. If you take your engine rating, divide by 25, that should tell you how many heat sinks are in the engine, unless you already have 10 or more. Your mech cannot have more than 10 heat sinks, regardless of whether they're single or double, inside the engine.
Okay.
So if you have an engine size rating 250, divide that by 25, you get 10. So right there, you're at 10 heat sinks. Any rating above any engine rating above a 250 is going to have 10 heat sinks internally. Any engine rating below 250 will have less than 10 heat sinks internally. If you have less than 10 heat sinks inside the engine, you must add heat sinks externally until you have at least 10 heat sinks on the mech. So like the 190, for example. The 190 engine only has, and they'll round down too, so it would have 7.6 heat sinks. If you divide 190 by 25, they round down to 7. So you have to equip 3 additional heat sinks on your mech. So like my Locust Run 190, I have to put 3 external heat sinks in the torsos in order to take the mech out into the field, because it doesn't have 10 inside the engine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you're going to run double heat sinks, is really advantageous if you're running a 250 sized engine or larger, because then you're truly getting 10 double heat sinks inside the engine. You're getting the equivalent of 20 single heat sinks in the engine. That really makes it worthwhile. If you're running less than a 250 and you're hurting for slots, you may want to rethink the doubles, is basically what it comes down to. I still run doubles because I want the extra cooling, because my mechs tend to run hot, but some folks prefer singles on like light mechs, for example, because they run into the slot issues, not having enough slots, because the doubles take 3 slots compared to 1 for singles. Make sense?
Yeah. Okay, so when you I guess some of it's placed out. When you switch between armor class, light ferro fiber, ferro, and the regular, I've been kind of basing on what I need more, slots or tonnage.
Okay.
And it refers to a protection. Is that like the effectiveness of the armor?
No, PGI's wording is really poor there. Basically, it just means your armor is lighter, so you get more points per ton. So changing to ferro and light ferro gives you no defensive bonuses. All it does is free up tonnage for you to use on the mech elsewhere. But
it stays the same as far as protection. It doesn't lose protection.
It doesn't lose protection. What happens is like this Thunderbolt I'm looking at right now does not have ferro. It has standard armor. So like if I'm gonna take, let's see, the head's good. No, I can't. Let me pull a heatsink off so I got a ton to play with. So like if I'm going to increase the head armor on it. All right, wait a minute. There we go. All right, so 1, 2, 3. So if I'm going to increase the head armor on it, it takes 3 clicks. I have to incrementally increase it by 3 points to take a half ton. I'm sorry, a tenth of a ton. Does that make sense? Yeah. 3 points per tenth of a ton. Now, if I were to change to... Let me pull some heat sinks off here so I've got some slots to play with. If I change to ferrofibrous, I gain 1.3 tons to use as extra tonnage. But then, of course, I lose a lot of slots. Now, if I were to increase my tonnage... Alright, so... But it's still 3. Okay, wait a minute. Alright, so all they did then really is they just made it lighter. I haven't played around with this in quite a while.
Okay, well on my Sloth God, my Annihilate, I get about 5 points per tenth of a ton. And he's running light for 5.
I'm thinking Clan Mechs. Clan Mechs have a bunch, that's right. But basically, the Pharaoh doesn't have any defensive bonuses. It's not more resilient. It's not weaker. There's no pros or cons defensively to using it. It literally only has the effect of adding extra tonnage for you to use at the cost of slots.
Yeah, so if you got the slots.
Right, if you got the slots and you need the tonnage, I mean, it's a good trade. Honestly, though, you're better off going with Endo Steel. Endo Steel gives you like 2 or 2.5 tons, so you actually have better tonnage savings with it than you have with Pharaoh.
Yeah.
And it's the same number of slots now.
Okay. So
Used to, Pharaoh took 12 slots as opposed to 14, but now they're both 14. And then, of course, there's Light Pharaoh.
Yeah, my current build for my Annihilator, I've got the Light Pharaoh. I need slots for ammo.
10-4.
I've got him pretty heavily armored. I don't know. Well, he's slow as shit, so I figured more armor in his case. He does take a lot more hits trying to...
It's a good rule of thumb, generally speaking, to max out your frontal armor. What I typically do is I'll run like anywhere from 4 to 10 points of rear torso armor, depending on the mech. Most of the time it's 6 to 8.
Kind of high.
Beg pardon?
I've been leaving it right around 18-20 for rear armor.
Yeah. I put it between 6 and 8 most of the time. I'm pretty good at keeping people out of my rear.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna end up dropping it just because I managed to keep people from behind for the bulk of it.
Yep.
But
you definitely shouldn't have any points available. Like if you go into battle and it says you've got like 10 points left, but you don't use it because you don't have tonnage, you definitely want to free up tonnage and put those extra 10 points on. The only place I skimp is the head and legs because those generally aren't targeted in bigger mechs.
yeah, I actually I kept my legs down at like 40, which I suppose
Yeah.
is high, but
So that's pretty good. And then sometimes I'll shave all the armor off the head. Most of the time I shave it down to about 10. I'll take 8 points off to get the extra half ton.
it's not a bad idea. Yeah, I don't think I've actually been headshotted off. Most of my kills usually would wear down one of my torques and manage to detonate me.
10-4.
Okay, so actually let me see if I can post a screenshot here, and I'll show you my current setup on Sloth God. Kind of my primary.
Okay, sounds good.
Share that with you and have you tell me what you might need tunage. Post it on the... Short disk. Yeah, I've been kind of learning as I go. It's one of the reasons I wanted to try and find a clan, just so I could play, properly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
My days of Mech Warrior 3 and 4s, things that are definitely not as I remember in a lot of ways. The part that got me the most, I kind of gimped myself to find it, dropping some cash to fix. But I made the mistake of not realizing hard points on variants. And so the first mech I spent my starting money on an Annihilate Pure Elixir that I didn't want.
Ooh.
So that ate through about 9 mil right off the go.
Yeah, imagine it would.
Yeah, I ended up buying, I forget which variant, but it's got like 6 hard points for lasers and no ballistic, and I was ready to cry, so I quit playing for about a month. And then I went ahead and switched back and managed to get myself where I wanted, spending a little cash and buying more in line with ballistic, which has actually helped me a lot play-wise.
10-4.
Can you permission me on your board?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I think I can. Let's see here.
Yeah, I got another guy. I'm gonna try and get him to apply. He's a real OCD player in any game he plays. So that first weeks.
Is it not letting you post under media? Is that what you're trying to do?
I was just media. Let me try media. I was just posting the channel.
You should be able to post somewhere, media, general, anywhere in there.
Oh, yeah. Media. Alright, so there's a screenshot of the loadout for Sloth God.
Oh, there it is. It's showing. I like it. The quad LB10 is a frightening build.
Yeah, the ACs I know they're losing most of the damage, but I'm really good at picking at people with the ACs to get them, distracted and or not aiming at our smaller mechs.
Right. See, that one you may want to drop, like you were saying, you may want to drop some of the rear torso armor and punch up your front. Then I see you've got 12 points available for the frontal, for example, which means that you don't have your armor maxed out yet, and you definitely want the armor maxed out on the Annihilator. So what you may want to do, seeing that your heat efficiency is at a 1.43, if you're comfortable with that, you may want to drop the heat sinks and then use the extra tonnage to punch up your armor a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking about taking a heat sink off. That was my kind of my next. If you notice, I've got one on the right arm. I was actually thinking of taking that one out.
Yeah, that's the one I would take off if you were to take one. If you were to remove one entirely, and then I would run your 3 torso, your front torso armors on all 3 components up as high as you can run them.
Oh,
and if you ran out of tonnage, I'd probably take another heat sink off and repeat.